This was probably one of the most peaceful, one of the most beautiful, one of the most love-filled conventions in the history of conventions. And when they talk about unity, I want to tell you, that was unity. That was unity, right? I saw you last night. That was unity. That was amazing. And the party has just come together. The party has come together.
In the eyes of some, it has not been the four-day soiree of celebration and light the Republican National Committee wanted. Granted, if you talk to those on the inside who were there, they will tell you this nominating convention hit every mark and is only being slammed by haters and hucksters who cannot wait to see the GOP fail. Talk to those who really understand what conventions are supposed to be about privately. They may shake their heads at a gathering that they believe fell short of what the party generals were seeking. A message that would hit more than the already dedicated base, but also reach out and at the very least be seen as making an effort to snare those undecided voters, those unhappy Democrats, those Bernie Sanders supporters who in the last few weeks have been forced to return to the mundane task of cutting their lawn without any assistance at all. Donald Trump is now the nominee and heading out to grab those voters and everybody else with his message that he is the one voice that can bring America back together. He likely will never have a greater chance than he has right now. The momentum from Cleveland is right there for the taking, and he has a few free and clear days to exploit it before Hillary Clinton and the left get their national airtime. And the question right now is not really where does Donald Trump go from here on a geographical stage, but where he goes from here to capture those he has offended and demeaned. But they are the votes no one is actually counting right now. We want to hear from you. Your phone call is part of the conversation. Get in early, stay on point, get to the point, hit it. 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-639-7629. Now, pleasure to welcome back veteran political commentator who can be read at ReaganReports.com, son of the 40th President of the United States, author of the book Lessons My Father Taught Me, The Strength, Integrity, and Faith of Ronald Reagan, Michael Reagan, back on the hard line. Michael, great to talk to you again. Let's go ahead and start out with what happened here at the convention. The word coming out today from those who saw it, and again, this is a lot of people who really don't have the GOP's best interests in mind. They're using the word dark. NBC News, Donald Trump takes America on a journey to the dark side. New York Times, his tone dark. Donald Trump takes GOP mantle. We're hearing that word a lot. In your opinion, was Donald Trump's end speech the right thing to do? Did it hit the right buttons? Or was it just, quite frankly, a little too dark?
Well, I don't think it was a little too dark. I mean, basically he hit all the buttons of all the problems that we face today in America. And he also, in doing that, hit all of the groups that all these government programs have, in fact, failed to do anything for. And so if they consider that dark, it's only dark because the national media refuses to, in fact, go out and tell these groups of people the failures of government in their lives, even though they promised them everything but the moon. Everything has in fact failed. So that's why they probably think that what Donald Trump did last night was dark. What Donald Trump needs to do now is convince people outside of Cleveland, outside of that convention, that he in fact can solve the problems that he discussed last night in his speech.
Now, that's a good point, because there's a number of people looking at exactly what he said, and he strayed off, quite frankly, in a couple of areas, as Donald Trump does. He actually made a comment about the LGBT voters, which basically some people are seeing as a good thing, that he reached out to them. But there's a lot of other people saying, well, wait a minute, you said you would protect them, but you didn't really say that you would be in favor of what the LGBT communities want. There's people in the black communities, the Hispanic communities, who are also saying he did not speak enough to us. And Mr. Trump, if you vote, you got to come get it right now. It's the only way for it to happen. So does he need those the groups that he's got to get out there and get, that he's got to convince again that he really is on their side?
Yeah, he's got to get the groups on his side that he has demeaned during the course of this campaign. And somebody asked me a couple of days ago, they said, if your father were alive and he could pull Donald Trump aside, what would your father tell him? And I said, my father would tell him, show a little humility. And what have you with those people you, in fact, have demeaned on the way to the nomination.
But Michael, the people don't want him to show humility, though. That's every time we talk to them, they say we don't want him to show.
The hardcore does not want him to show humility. But the reality of it is, if he wants to reach outside the hardcore and go to other people. Remember my father, the trouble he was in with Iran-Contra. And when did it all go away? When he took the time, and the last president to ever do this, he took the time to go on television and apologize, even though he hadn't really done anything wrong in it. He apologized to the American public because he said the buck stops here. And it all went away, and he was able to accomplish so much after he apologized for Iran-Contra. Sometimes you need to do that so you can change footing and move everything forward, and that's what he needs to do. I mean, look at social media today. I'm sure you have. I mean, the Cruz people are livid. The Trump people are livid. And unless all those groups get together, you know, the Republicans aren't going to show up in the election, and Hillary Clinton will be the next president of the United States of America.
1-877-Newsmax. If you'd like to join us with a comment, Michael, you mentioned your father. I want to talk about something that came from Commentary magazine that I thought was very, very poignant. We talked about this earlier today in our news meeting, where your father, when he gave his speeches, it was about forward. It was about future. It was about optimism. It was about what this nation could accomplish in a positive manner. But from this article, Donald Trump clearly sees contemporary America as a deeply flawed place with its own human rights problems and civil strife. They mention his gloomy view of the nation impels him to a new career in national service. Point to be gleaned from this: it is the antithesis of Ronald Reagan's faith in American values and its role in the world that was at the heart of his presidency. I mention this because Mike Pence, a couple of days ago, compared Donald Trump to your father, and I know that chafes at you, but certainly in this method, doesn't this also chafe at you when people compare him to your dad? Your dad was positive looking forward, and people right now are working from the negative.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I'm getting a little tired of people running for office in the Republican Party trying to equate themselves as if they're the next Ronald Reagan. You know, we had Ronald Reagan in our lifetimes. Feel lucky that you had a Ronald Reagan in your lifetimes. There was only one of them. There was only one George Washington. There was only one Abraham Lincoln. There was one Ronald Reagan. You know, live on your own feet. Accomplish the things you want to accomplish with your thoughts and forward thinking. Ronald Reagan had forward thinking. You know, we at the house, and I write about this in my book, lessons my father taught me. My sister and I used to refer to my dad as a Boy Scout, that he thought running for the presidency was like getting an Eagle Scout badge. I mean, he was always absolutely positive, and you're right, forward thinking. But he made us feel good about America, and nobody right now feels really good about America.
But I'll play devil's advocate on that then. The trouble that we're in right now as a nation, is it just possible that we don't need positive thoughts right now? We don't need a lot of pie in the sky and a lot of flowers, because things have been so destroyed in the last 8 years, even before that, that we need that jolt. We need that, if you will, that shock to the system right now about how bad things are, and that's going to make us better.
Well, what you've got now is you've got Donald Trump after his speech last night and the things that you're discussing. If there's a positive side out of it, you know, he said, hey, I'm going to solve the problem. Well, we've got to take it on faith that he, non-politician, is going to be able to solve the problem, or elect Hillary Clinton, who we know only creates problems. And that's really the choice people have at this point in time. Is Donald Trump my favorite? No, but he is the nominee of the party. And I sure as heck don't trust Hillary Clinton to be president of the United States. And I certainly don't trust her husband to be back in the White House.
Will you vote for Donald Trump now?
Yeah, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump now. And I would suggest, I don't want Donald Trump to lose because I didn't show up at the polls. We've had too many Republicans lose because we don't show up at the polls. Republicans spend too much time trying to find ways not to support their nominee, while the Democrats find all kinds of ways to support their nominee. And if we do it this time, there will be President Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Very briefly, I want us both to hear this. Here's Michael, an African-American Donald Trump supporter. Michael, thanks for joining us. You want Donald Trump to reach out to the African-American community. In 30 seconds, tell us how he does that.
Well, I think his main way to do that is to identify with the loss they've had and the fear they've had with the modern day things that have happened in the police program. The best way Donald Trump can reach out is to clearly highlight the unemployment rate in the Afro-American community when Obama took the presidency was about 40%. It has skyrocketed to 60%. So there's really no programs there. The skill training that needs to be taken place needs to be put into place. If Donald Trump would involve skill training, on-the-job training skills for Afro-Americans where they can go and get skills, because a plumber, once he's skilled, can work anywhere in the country. And that plumber can emancipate themselves from the ghettos of St. Louis, the ghettos of Detroit, the ghettos of Chicago. He needs to instill job training for the Afro-American community.
And make their own way. We're unfortunately out of time. I want to thank you for your call, a very poignant call. We'll have to talk about this next time. The book again, Lessons My Father Taught Me, The Strength, Integrity, and Faith of Ronald Reagan. Get a copy. Enjoy it. Michael Reagan, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We're going to move next to the political animal and what Democrats might have in mind next week on The Hardline.